Howdy, and welcome to Risky Standard, an actual play podcast featuring a rowdy group of best friends playing tabletop role-playing games together. I'm your host and GM, Mitch Broesder. You can find me on Twitter over at MagnesiumB. You can find the show on Twitter at Standard Risky. You can also find us now at risky-standard.com. Right? We've got a website.
That's right. We are live on the web.
And you'll find a cool link there or in the show notes to our Discord, where we're always posting inspiration images, character sheets, and maps from the games. Just shooting the shit about robots, sci-fi, Risky Standard, and other fun stuff. With me today, I've got Pete Loftus.
Hey everybody, what's up? I'm Pete. I'm also on Twitter at Chip Enjoyer. Come on through the Discord, say hey.
Malcolm Hall here today as well.
Hey, hello, you lovely, lovely people. It's good to see the boys' faces here. Not only on a Friday, but in broad fucking daylight. We are playing games in the afternoon sun, at least where I am at.
By the pale light of dawn.
Yeah.
We're rarely graced with the light of the morning star during our recordings. It's usually more of an evening vibe, but
we kind of worship the sun, and what we do, we see it as very sinful, and we want to hide it from God, you know?
We might get into that this episode.
And following that up, we've got Timothy Mans.
Yeah, great to be here. Daylight style. I will, just tagging onto the website party. Let us know what Flash games you want on there. You know, we'd love to get some. Mitch makes some fun games in his spare time, so maybe we can get him to link some there. But if there's any type of games you want to be able to have on there while you listen.
We're working on a Coronatus Tower Defense Flash game. It's going to be
honestly,
really fun.
That would be sick as hell.
Games companies, hit us up. I'm going to flag it here as well. So we have a lot of exciting twists and turns in the show the last couple of arcs, but I think we're close enough to this moment. It's kind of safe to announce. We don't have the exact number dialed in, but we are sort of steadily approaching what we're thinking of as the end of season 1, where we will be putting a pin in our ongoing game of Beam Saber. And season 2, we're going to be returning with a new campaign, a new world, new story. I don't think we have a lot of details to share about that just yet, but I think we're all pretty excited about it. And hopefully we'll have some more exciting news to share about that coming soon.
And just take a moment to say, Pete, Malcolm, you guys have been great. It was so fun playing with you. I can't wait to see what you guys do after this. But me and Mitch are going to have a great time in season.
We're wishing you well on your next endeavor. I know you guys are working on an AI model that exclusively steals work from artists. So nothing generated. So congratulations to you two. If you guys like that or don't like that, reach out to them on Twitter.
Or let us know on the Discord.
They're not actually leaving, for the record.
But before any of that happens, we are today continuing our game of Beam Saber by Austin Ramsey. As always, you can find a link to Austin's itch.io page where you can buy Beam Saber over in our show notes. We are, we just kind of finished a little bit of an extended emotional downtime sequence that saw our characters split apart for a while, saw Rhodes questioning the true nature of the Redshift, the true nature of Ember itself, and the orichalcum lattice buried deep beneath its surface. At the same time, Carta and Desmond carried on the good work of the Ring in Coronatus, uncovering plans for a Concordat invasion, and also building up the coalition opposing Grenfield, a kind of part protest movement, part kind of like ring militia organized by Carta to help kind of fight back against the ills of the Grenfield Corporation and the Commonwealth at large. And at the end of last session, we saw a little bit of payback from Grenfield in the form of Grenfield's right-hand man and enforcer, the Aurelian Wager Fellbarre leading a squad to attack a cog meeting at the squad's favorite haunt, the Sixth Moon Bar. Saw them attacking the people there and burning down the Sixth Moon, taking away the squad's loyal bar. So where we last ended, right, it was surrounded by the flames and wreckage of the Sixth Moon, the wounded and the injured spilling out onto the streets, other ring squads like the Open Palm helping to tend to people, and Carta kind of making a declaration of righteous vengeance. And I don't want to come back in right there today, but as we kind of start to move towards, we've been talking a little bit about Carta building up towards a kind of a revenge mission of sorts. I think maybe our camera can open today, not at the Sixth Moon, but a few hours after, right? Kind of the late hours of the night bleeding into the early hours of the morning. I imagine this is back at the Low Tower, after several hours spent extinguishing the flames at the Sixth Moon, tending to the wounded, recovering what little you could salvage from the wreckage there. And I think maybe this is probably like in the briefing room, right? The artificial lights, a dim glow. I imagine everyone is probably, a little soot stained, covered with the ash that was blowing around from the fire at the Sixth Moon.
Is there a med bay full of injured?
I think it's probably very quiet actually in the Low Tower. I think most of the wounded are with the Open Palm were taken to closer places like in Wormtown.
The Val units have lines around the block.
But so I think it's quiet, probably a little like somber. I don't know, maybe we can start there. The Black Star Constellation together again this late hour. There are probably some people here, right? There are some of these members of the COG units who are angry, maybe occasionally echoing down the tunnels. It's the very distant punctuation of practice fire, right? They're at the guerrilla training center, the public work that you guys installed during that last downtime. So maybe you occasionally get, the ringing of shots down the tunnels. And, maybe the clank of a wrench, the buzz of like a welding torch from the hangar, Zed and Bitter kind of anxiously working on the arrow lifter, kind of ready to respond if it's like, are we rolling out today, right? Is this like, are we just riding out with a vengeance, or are we planning something? I think they're kind of nervously anticipating what the response from the Black Star Constellation is going to be. And, maybe too, we also get background hum, the kinetic click of the tiles of the apparatus machine in Seldom Rose lab. But for the most part, I think, in this room, in the briefing area, like illuminated by like the dull holographic glow of the stage, your holo table, I think it's just you three, at least for now.
I have a question in terms of like this action and stuff, but for Des and Carta, we unearthed all those crates of like arms and armor, like not mech scale, like person level weapons and like armor. Did we keep that, or what? Like, do we still have this Concordat stuff?
If I'm not mistaken, I think we kept some of it,
and
then also gave some to
Rebus.
Rebus, yeah, right.
And you used those 2 squad upgrades that you had. If my notes are correct, I believe you used one of them to create the workshop, and the other one was you used to create the training facility, the public works, right?
Okay, yeah.
So you do, in the fiction, you have those, all right? You have like arms and armaments from the Concordat that, you have used partially to outfit this new cohort of toughs, the COG unit.
Okay. Well, I think a couple of things, like we all have a couple of actions to take. I guess I'm going to go inspect those, because I think for Rhodes anyway, at least for the last few hours, I think is sort of quiet. I think he's just sort of processing. One, that this was kind of what he was afraid of. And we talked about it on the train, where it was like, this is happening. This is a classic, like we've seen it before from the Concordat, like infiltration inside the city while this kind of propaganda campaign is waged. And I'm concerned that this is not the only instance of a cache. Like, I'm sure we didn't catch them all.
Yeah, so is there like is there a role there? Is there something you're trying to find out, or is this just kind of like the color of where we see Rhodes as we kind of come in?
Maybe a bit of the color. That's actually a good idea. Maybe I will gather some information here around kind of what we're actually looking at. Let's see. How would I go about this? Can I like look at, I don't know if we got a shipping manifest. Obviously I'm coming in late to this. Can I like look through whatever these crates were stamped as with their cover to see if there's anywhere we can like look in the cities in Coronatus is like, I don't know, importing, exporting records to see if this cover shell corporation has any other like notable deliveries?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to be looking at like shipping records for like the anticipated arrival for like trains that are being operated by the night flyers, right? That's probably the thing that you would be trying to find here.
Right.
So is that like where Rhodes is going while like when we get back?
Yeah.
So what is that? I think that's definitely gathering information.
Is this maybe like a study role? Like I'm looking through the details of what I'm in my. Yeah, I'm like looking to see if there's like a cover like logistics company, like that's whoever the like freight line is. If there's any other kind of recent activity from this group.
Yeah, we know. I think we said this the last time. It was Ever Forward Transport was the actual transportation company. Yeah, I think that's a study. That sounds like a study to me. Gather information.
That's a great corporate doublespeak. Ever Forward. Okay, I have 1 in that, so I'll just roll 1.
Shoot.
Oh, it's a 6.
That is a 6. So a 6 here, great information. I think once you know what you're looking for, right? This is probably the stage would be the thing you would use to look up some of this. I think, to like set the scene again, right? I think it has these like smaller, like, like personal user monitors, like built into it. You've said it before, right? Running all along the floor and walls here are the black cables of the apparatus feeding into the stage, this tactical planning table, right? And those they run into the walls, they run up into the ceiling, and they spread out. And that is the information network of the ring, growing underneath Coronatus, tapped into any number of like public terminals, any number of private terminals as well, and also communicating with itself across the entirety of Imber and beyond. Every piece of intel and information that a ring operative acquires is inevitably and eventually uploaded into the apparatus. And so, at some point, someone who is a ring agent in a shipping port has been just feeding tables of information into this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not even knowing if there's something there to find, but knowing that maybe someone might need to find something there. And so on a 6, I think you can see it's probably been the last 5 to 6 months, there is suddenly a marked increase in the number of shipments that Ever Forward Transport is bringing into Imber from New Rivalo. And, there's a deep paper trail of like justifying what these things are. I think there are like shell company names that have popped up, different like small like mining groups, right? Allowing for an increase of like orichalcum flow. This collage of shell companies and private shipments, all to cover the fact that, suddenly about 6 months or so ago, Ever Forward rapidly scaled up the amount of stuff it was bringing into Imber, or into Coronatus, rather.
That's what I was afraid of.
Largely by rail. Quite a few of these were the anticipated arrival. Its trips suddenly doubled between New Rivalo and Imber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like guessing, or my head canon anyways. Like Ever Forward's basically like a 8-month-old company registered as a logistics and infrastructure company. Sudden uptick. I like this idea that it's covered by like mining prospectors, shell corps, and like individuals, and like that's what I'm specifically looking for. Is this like traceable somewhere? Because I think I've got enough off of this, right? Which is it's been happening. There's multiple instances. These are like at least traceable to some degree. Where's Desmond right now?
I don't think he's here.
I have one scene I want to get on with Desmond.
Yeah.
But my hope in this was like kind of helping to feed whatever that information you're trying to take to the city, right? Or to the Desdemona.
Yeah.
Palm computer. So I guess just like looking for Desmond, realizing he's already left.
Or, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I just didn't see myself in the scene. We could just redo it. And Actually, I am there.
You forgot your keys.
Yeah.
So where is Desmond? Where is Desmond? And I do think I want to let's. I think everyone should be here in this aftermath of this.
Yeah,
thing, right.
yeah.
I think
true.
You know what I mean? Just for logistics reasons, if nothing else.
Yeah, where are you going? You don't even have a job anymore. Your place of business just burnt down.
And also your home, right? That was where you stayed. It was above the 6 moon.
Oh fuck! I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Your home and business have been burnt down.
Man.
So I think let's get everyone. I want everyone in the low
That
tower. I
sucks.
do want this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I was there.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm gonna follow the smell of cinder and ash to try and figure where Desmond's moving your I don't know, sooty sleeping bag into your quarters.
It's not sooty. It's a regular sleeping bag. And also, I probably just would sleep in the closet. I don't need a sleeping bag. I sleep upside down on the bed.
Oh yeah, true. Actually, you're moving your coat.
We've established that. My wardrobe.
Your freestanding pull-up bar.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm gonna go find Desmond
go
in
wake
Low
me
Tower.
up. Yeah,
sure. So yeah, I guess it is daytime actually. So trying to find Desmond. I guess they'll just knock on your door, right? Clinking chains.
Door opens. Yeah.
Des, you in here? Is now a good time?
I mean, no, but I mean, when is there a good time? Hold on. Let me just. I fall down, pick up, stand up, dust myself off.
Oh yeah, there's all your. Yeah, you look much cleaner now.
Yeah.
Look, there's no easy way to say it, and I know you're probably not very happy with me, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left you. I know you've been left high and dry by your team before. There's nothing I can say to make it right, but I just hope you know I wouldn't have left you to your own like that. I knew you were in good hands. You can take care of yourself, but I shouldn't have left without saying anything.
I know that. But do you see now what we're dealing with? Do you see how important this is?
Of course I see how important this is. I had a moment of doubt. We've all had them. I've been fighting this war for a long time, and there's times where it seems unwinnable. I wondered what the point of it all is. I think I'm struggling a bit because these are some of my worst fears. I thought maybe our foothold would be stronger. Coronatus might have been a different story, but you're right. It's not. I can't do it alone. And I worry in the past I've misled us, let ego drive a bit. And I want to make sure, you're as much a part of this as I am, if not more. So, with that, I just want to say I realize the position I put you in. I realize, I imagine it brought up, some stuff from your past. I'm not Butte. I'd never ask you to take the fall for me.
Well, that's all fine and good, but I think we have more important things to do. You've woken me up a little early, but I've got some information I need to pass on.
I've got something for you too, and I think would pass this Palm Pilot over right from the apparatus. Essentially, kind of detailing what we just got off that roll, right?
Yeah.
This group Ever Forward. I ran some cross analysis on the stage, and I think I've got it down to a list of individuals. Shell Corps, other areas, but I think they've got a leg up on us here. This might have been going on for longer than we realized.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see Thea Desdemona?
Yes.
That sweet sister of yours?
Hey, watch it.
I think she should see this too. I don't know what we can do within the system, but it should at least be out in the open.
We just gotta fight this on all fronts at this point.
People need to know.
Mm-hmm.
How can I help? I mean, maybe that's... I don't know if you have a list of how I can help.
No, as usual, I don't need your help, but I do appreciate this.
Well, you know where to find me.
Yep, I'll see you back here.
Where is Carta in all of this then, right? If Dez gets there and wants to just immediately pass out, which makes sense. It was an exhausting experience. If Rhodes gets there and the first thing he does is start digging.
Yeah, I think Carta's kind of in his own way doing some digging. His mind is racing. And, I think he's kind of getting lost in the semi-hypnotic clicking and flipping of the tiles. Kind of just, leaned up against a wall watching them and, thinking and even maybe just says it out loud kind of absent-mindedly to Seldom. We have so many people on the street. There are COG members everywhere. They've been giving us information for weeks. How did we not see this coming? How did they have a chance to do this without us being able to do anything about this?
It's a good question. Right under our noses, too, which also means the fifth moon's not as secure as we thought.
Are you here, Rhodes, also?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, it's all in the same room.
I'm just sitting at a table on the edge of the room in the dark.
Aragorn style.
Yeah.
I must have missed something. I got too confident. How did we miss this?
We can't do anything about it.
We can't do anything about that building. There's something we can do about it. I don't know what that is. I need to go through this all again. If they were able to move units like that, right in our territory, where else are they able to move this? It means that they have, I don't know. They have to have people somewhere right there. I mean, we're on the border of Wormtown, and they're.
Maybe it's time we strike back. Your cogs, your people are in position. They're waiting for direction.
But where? They took away the sixth moon. That's where everyone felt safe, and I let that burn to the ground. I don't know, where do they feel safe? Where do they feel like they have the upper hand?
Well, you should ask them. You mentioned Wormtown, right? The urban renewal zone?
Yeah. Seldom. Is there a way that we can go through this information again to see if there have been any more recent accumulation of Grenfield employees, any guards, anyone else they're working with? I want to see where they're gathered. Go to them.
Yeah, I think she looks at you and she nods. The apparatus has been spending every single day since we acquired it digging through Shell Spade's data cache. We've decrypted most of it at this point. We have a much better map of Grenfield's resources. It's a lot to dig through, but between that and the intel that you've been able to acquire with your outings with Cog, we can try and find something. And I think she puts a hand on your shoulder, Carta. I'm just like, her expression is always hard to read because she's got this giant, big, like chunky visor that covers like the upper half of her face, wired in to the back of her head. But I think, she says, you are building a movement here in Coronatus. And if you want to build a movement, it can't stay quiet. You can't blame yourself for something that was always going to happen. You can't create change here without disturbing the people who already hold power. And I think, she moves to one of the terminals and starts, I think, like booting up several of them, right? Starting to set like her own apparatus terminals towards combing through this data. And, I think she clears off some tools from a seat next to her and sets up a terminal there, and kind of invites you to join her in digging through this stuff and trying to put together, where can you make Grenfield, make them soar? Where can you put some hurt back on them, right? I think that's like the thing you're looking for, right? What does the intel point towards, right?
Yeah, I don't want to break just a few eggs. I want to burn down the...
So I think this is probably gather information.
Right, definitely gather information, and I think it's kind of... Because it was always the plan to get Wager here. That was like, yes. We knew we were trying to bring him out. And I know that with his position at Grenfield, he also, at a certain point, like, also can't be too far away from any, like, of the projects that he's overseeing, I imagine. So, like, if there's a way with a view of going, like, what would be the project that he would be, like, allocating most of his time and effort to, where he would be, and, seeing if we can track more of specifically his movements and what that might be and why their activities have been actively increasing in Wormtown and the urban renewal zone specifically recently. So I think that that's kind of the...
Yeah, I think, so what is, what action do you want to use to gather information here? I think you're also going to take one dice probably for your cohort assisting you. Seldom.
It would just be, just study, which I don't have anything in. But
book learning, not Carta's strongest suit. You can always push yourself here. It is gather information, which means that you won't fail, right? It's just the quality of information that you receive.
Yeah, I guess I could push myself.
And that'll give you an extra die.
I'll do that. So that would be...
that'll be two going forward.
Yeah, I'll just do roll 2.
Okay.
And that is... a 1 and a 3.
That's limited information. And so limited information in this instance, what that looks like here. Again, it's not a failure. You get information no matter what, but you're not going to maybe get quite as much as you would have otherwise.
I think there's also a part of Carta that even with whatever information he gets here, there might be a bit of an old-fashioned scout style, like, man on the streets. If I have to walk around Wormtown and follow some of these, Grenfield, like, to see where they're going and, like,
Well, before we get there, let's resolve this study first, right? Because this is like I think we got the study first, and the study here is looking at the information. And so on limited information, I think you're able to get two things, and one you get from looking things up, and then the other, it's like around 8 a.m. Right? I think this is hours, right? Spent, I think seldom at some point, like there is like a little disgusting apparatus powered coffee maker in the back of this room, right? You were drinking like her like hyper caffeinated like black sludge.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like a little tech goblin. She just kind of lives in this lab most of the time, plugged into these computers. So it's it's like 8 a.m. right? It's hours, right? And it's at the point where it's just time to probably stop.
Yeah, diminishing returns at a certain point.
But you've uncovered something. Right. And you are right in that like Grenfield's interest in the urban renewal zone is unusual, and it's like a big commitment in a place where the Commonwealth doesn't even have like full power, right? They don't own Coronatus. They own quite a few council members, but Coronatus is still nominally independent. And yet, despite that, Grenfield has poured so much money into like redeveloping this district of Coronatus, of establishing itself there, right? This urban renewal plan, that tearing down dozens of old buildings, digging up the earth, rebuilding this big segment of kind of like the border of Wormtown. And Carta's like instinct is right, and maybe that's what points you in that direction to find this information. But it is within the depths of Shell Spade's cache, right? The data that you acquired, that you were able to decrypt because you got his biosignature. His kind of like payday package that he would have sold to Pennyroyal Arms and Armament before you intercepted it. I think this was like still maybe under construction to some extent when he operating in Imber. He was probably a part of like designing its construction. There is another lab, another installation, right? Tagged in these files as like Cradle Project Mark II. Installation Violet. Another facility that Grenfield has been operating its experiments on the Lattice at. And this one is inside the city of Coronatus. It is inside Wormtown. It is beneath the urban renewal zone. The big quarries, these big pits they've been digging in the ground to build foundations for the new structures that they plan on building have been at least partially cover for the construction beneath the surface that has been happening. This is like, I think it's only recently kind of fully active, or it has like kind of reached full activity. But, the start of this urban renewal project several years ago was tied directly to the discovery of a site somewhere in Wormtown that is connected to the Lattice in such a way that they can try and conduct another one of these cradle experiments. The same kind of machine that you saw in Installation Indigo and that you ultimately ended up destroying. Same kind of experiment has been happening here in the city. And I think, you don't get, I don't know if Shell Spade's cache has like full blueprints of that site, partially because it was still under final construction. But I think you do get like probably like some rough maps of like where under the surface of Wormtown this lab should be. And unlimited information, I don't think you get full blueprints, right? That was not something Shell Spade was able to acquire or to get into this data cache. But there's a second piece here, like I said, which is I think that morning there's an announcement, it's like playing on like the Coronatus Daily News or something, right? It is that freshly announced Meyer Grenfield, the acting CEO of the Grenfield Survey and Acquisitions Corporation, has announced that he's going to be speaking publicly in Wormtown, in the urban renewal zone, concerning an important Grenfield announcement. And I think there's a little bit of like coy mystery, but it's a message about the future of the economic regrowth of the urban renewal zone and an impending sign of Grenfield's continued commitment to bettering the city of Coronatus. And so I think you get like, right, this is like scheduled for the end of the week. And that's there's no more there either, right? It is just,
right.
Meyer Grenfield, though, the acting CEO, the head of the Nexus Initiative, the boss of Wager Fellbarre, the person who burned down the Sixth Moon, is going to be there. He's got an announcement. He's going to be chatting. He's going to be in public. And I think those are the things that you're able to pick up from that failed, not failure, but that 1 and that 3 on your gathering information. And at that point in the morning, I think there's like a point where it's like Seldom, puts away this like jet fuel coffee, and once again, hand on your forearm, like, I think you need to go and get a little rest. Sleep on this. Think about what you want to do, what we want to do, but don't make any rash decisions.
I think it's more of a defiantly kind of just lays back in his chair, and before he even knows it, he's conked.
Yeah, I like that. And so, yeah, we can kind of, we can get a little loosey-goosey with time, but I imagine there's probably, like, does Carta call the squad together to, like, get this information to them? Like, how does...
Yeah, after a good restful night of sleep that he didn't toss and turn through at all. Yeah, I think it's just around this, the stage kind of lays out what he found out, gives them the rundown about Installation Violet and how it's similar to Indigo here, just in the heart of Wormtown. And Grenfield's presence has been on a massive uptick recently there. This is one of the bigger projects they have in the city, which is rare, to do that in Coronatus. Gives them the rundown on that. And then, just kind of tells them, Meyer's going to be speaking in the Urban Renewal Zone. Wager will be there. I always wanted to get up close and personal with Wager and send the message that way, but maybe we give the people some fireworks.
So I want to kind of I want to jump in here really quick and just address kind of two things before we go forward as you all kind of like plan whatever this mission is or start to. So I think that's what we're doing now, right? We're kind of giving ourselves a mission briefing. There's no one else here to give you one, right? There's no Troubadour is in Sedge, right? There's no Frog Kingpin who's got a job. This is personal. It's you guys doing something on your own accord. And so I wanted to address two things. Yeah, one, that right? Whatever mission objective you kind of establish here, it's going to be your mission, your objective. However you want to respond to this knowledge, that is kind of up for us to figure out here. And then hopefully, by the end of this episode, hit our engagement roll on what that mission is going to be. And the second thing that I want to touch here is the issue of drive clocks, because we are, whatever this mission is, I think it's pretty clearly directly interfacing with Carta's drive, right?
Right.
Which we're restating.
Situation for one person, right? So
yeah. So let's talk about that, right? You have 2 drive clocks, and your drive is to hunt down the people who killed your parents and make them pay. And so for a fact, both Meyer Grenfield, who is the head of the Grenfield company, the head of the Nexus Initiative, is going to be in public in Coronatus at the end of this week. You also know Wager Fellbarre is going to be there. And also, that if you hit this installation, that would be the kind of action that would require Wager Fellbarre to respond personally. You could get him in there by doing that as well. Yeah. But the thing about this, like you just kind of noted, you have 2 drive clocks. And the way that accomplishing your drive in Beam Saber works is that if you spend 2 drive clocks, you can change the life circumstances of a single person. So Carta could spend his drive clocks to open up that possibility to take somebody out here. And whether that's Meyer or whether that is Wager, both of those, you're getting an opportunity to do just that. It takes 3 drive clocks to change the circumstances of a squad. And so if you wanted to do something that would like big picture, make Grenfield as a company pay for what you did, destroy Grenfield, discredit Grenfield, do something kind of on that big scale to get your vengeance, that requires spending 3 drive clocks. But a player only gets 2, which means that you would need someone else to buy in to this kind of bigger picture. They would have to lend you a drive clock to spend to do that. And right now,
brother, you got a drive clock.
Rhodes does not have any.
No,
Rhodes
cleaned
spent
out,
his,
yeah.
Rhodes spent his to get Abel Selkirk to open up to him about the truth of Imber and Feldspar and the nature of the fundament here, and to kind of take Rhodes on as an ally. And so, Rhodes, you're tapped out. Desmond has 1 drive clock, halfway to 2. And whatever that means, whatever that means, that's for you guys to figure out. But we can come back in now. But I just wanted to have those things kind of on the table as we think about what it looks like for this, what this mission is going to be, what objectives you decide for yourself, and how you want to approach, what your goal is. So this is kind of, the Black Star Constellation's, I think, self-directed mission briefing here. Coming back in, right? Carta has just relayed all of this news to you guys, that there is this installation Violet with another prototype cradle hidden beneath the urban renewal zone in Wormtown. And also, Meyer Grenfield, the head of that company, is making a big announcement in the urban renewal zone on Friday, right? Let's say if it's Monday, that's on Friday, which is a prime opportunity for Carta to enact a certain kind of revenge, depending on who he's going after. And so, why don't we come pick back up there?
It almost feels like Meyer's he's a figurehead for the company. Sure, he's in charge, but Wager's there day to day. He's the one who gives orders, puts people to work, gets things built, things torn down.
Can I add something or offer something up here?
Yeah.
Is there anything here I don't know how anybody feels about this, maybe a little controversial. I'm looking at weapons crates full of Concordat armor and weapons. Is there kind of an enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing where we could stage the Concordat taking some action here and kind of spur on a little bit of tension?
I have something like that written down as well. Do we feel like that would be pushing forward the Concordat just also then being in Coronatus as a giant force more than they already are, and kind of domino affecting that? You know what I mean? If we bring them in or try to use them for this, then they are a giant force coming into the city already.
Carter, they're already here.
I mean, I think Desmond has a point here, or there's something to ask is if the Concordat is hiding right now and you take away their cover, does that mean they have to hide at all anymore?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's fun to figure out. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I'll enjoy answering it later.
I mean, because there's also a part of at the speech. I think Carta is weighing. I'm weighing it. What happens if Meyer, he gets up on that stage, fancy suit and all, and the moment he turns to unveil this beautiful project he's working up, in that moment it goes up in smoke. And who is he going to call for? Wager. And what happens when Wager's not there to clean up his mess anymore? If that doesn't scare him, I don't know what will. He's always had Wager there to do the dirty work for him. Sure, they might rush him away into some limousine and take him back to his headquarters. But if he knows that we have the power to stop him at that level, go back to the office. Hide there, whatever. Bar your security doors.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a minute until you find someone who's willing to do the work of Wager. That Wager did for years and years, getting blood on his hands. You're not going to have someone so ready to step up into that position. If we can get into that installation, somehow under their noses, or hell, hit it with some force if we have to, so that the moment he points to the good that they are doing here in this city, it's gone. Everyone here on the streets knows that Grenfield doesn't care. I mean, COG, all those members, it speaks for itself.
Well, it's your operation, Carta. You've got my backing. Just keep in mind, you might be painting a target on their backs, too.
I think we already have targets painted on our backs.
Des, what are your thoughts?
I think that, this may come off as hypocritical coming from me, but I think it's time to take the mask off. I think hiding behind something else or trying to distract, I don't really think we need to do that anymore. I think the days of the smoke screens and the subterfuge is none of this shit is really going to matter soon.
Yeah. And I think that when those bombs go off and Violet crumbles to the ground, mask off.
I think you're right.
I want them to know it was us.
We're going to need a team to get us into there, to plant any explosive we need. And we're going to need people at the speech as well, so that when it goes off, they know that we are there in force and in numbers. I'll talk to the team. Gather a few of them. We're going to have to do some boots on the ground reconnaissance of the site itself. See what they're working with security-wise. See what the best way to take it all out. Make it the pit that they want it to be.
So, just so I can kind of restate this a little bit, it sounds to me like the plan is to infiltrate Installation Violet, set it up to destroy it right as Meyer would be kind of presenting whatever he's going to present.
Right. Especially because it seems like I feel like I kind of got this with the the information I got, that they are calling it, they're using the very flowery euphemisms for what it is for the community, So I imagine they're not going like, oh, this is Installation Indigo, this is what we're doing. They are couching it as like, this is for the people of Coronadus, right? So when he's like, for the people, that, he would go up in flames.
I see. The only other question for you is part of this also, are you making public what you know? Or is this still, Desmond's talking about taking masks off,
Oh, I think it is, the knowledge is known when it is, I guess it blows up, and that is when, I don't know, if it literally could be COG members handing out like flyers, or through the rings, some kind of larger information distribution to the people of that community. We have a lot of COG members who are, have various positions across the city. If they start to talk about what it is, that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I think in the fiction right now, the existence of stuff like the Lattice, kind of like these secret projects, is all very much not public facing. And if
right.
I'm curious, is part of this, like blowing up, like, hey, here's what's happening here that you guys don't know.
Yeah,
about.
I think part of it too is in the lead up to, infiltration and explosion, we are teaching the gathered COG members, whoever's like with us, or, people in the open palm, we are telling them this, and teaching them this so they know what is happening, but there will be a grander, more public facing announcement of it when everything goes up in smoke. Even if that means, it goes up in smoke, they get fucking Grenfield out of there. We get someone up on that podium to, take a mic and be like, this is what they're doing to our city. We won't let it stand anymore.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
I guess that's in that regard, that is the timing of revealing it to the public, full mask off. The only other thing, I guess, is I need to figure out where and when to get Wager. Like, if he's going to be speaking at the event, or if he's just going to be standing behind Meyer.
Definitely not speaking.
Not speaking. Okay. So if it's like figuring out a way to get him from the stage back to the installation to take him out there, or before Meyer gets there and he just kind of like has to realize he can't get a hold of him.
I think that's like stuff we can kind of figure out in the heat of the play. You know what I mean?
Perfect. But that's the only other thing. Carta that's the big thing. He wants that installation to go down, and he wants Wager to go with it.
Yeah. So it sounds like your mission objective here is to set up enough explosives to destroy Installation Violet, and in doing so, unmask the true nature and sort of target of Grenfield, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's sick. I like that. With that all said, yeah, I think now we are kind of open for this period of like gathering information and thinking about like, any last questions we want to answer before we move towards, the other part of this, which is our engagement role. How do we want to approach the mission? So I don't know if anyone has any. I know we do want to get like, maybe this could be where we follow Desmond to meet with Thea. Maybe this is, I don't know if anyone has any gathering information unrelated to that, but
again, like I said, Carta wants to do more boots on the ground, like looking at the installation itself, seeing like when people enter and exit, security, shift changes, things like that, so that you can, start to account for what getting in there with the least resistance looks like.
I've got an idea or two.
Cool. Let's start with this Carta recon, and then maybe we can cut to Des, and then hit any more gathering info, and then hit this engagement roll.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think survey.
So this is just boots on the ground, walking around the urban renewal zone, eyes on like Grenfield, in uniform, like we're just trying to like.
Yeah, checking in with other COG members who might be there too, what they're here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a survey, looking at my surroundings and taking it in. And so I think that's 2. I'm just going to roll my 2.
2 on survey? Yeah.
Yeah. Do I get any extra dice from the COG cohort?
I don't. I think that's like a fictional thing here because like I gave you that dice for Seldom because that's her expertise.
Okay, cool.
Whereas the COGs are not like we chose them. They're toughs. They're not skulks. They're not the like scout subclass.
Sweet. All right. Well, rolling 2d6. 6. 4 and a 6.
All right. On a 6, that's great information. And so I think I'm going to give you a few things here, right? Because I think this is a few days spent. And as you're walking, I think you're also kind of probably doing a little bit of like plotting out like, hey, where is it going to be useful to have like the like kind of like non-militia cog members positioned out here during the like speech. You can see the like wooden stage and podium that they're building, right, where Grenfield is going to give his announcement later this week. I mean, I think it's positioned, there is, like I said, this kind of big, several blocks, I think, across this kind of like open pit that is like demolished buildings where they've torn them down, they've dug up the earth, they've started building the foundation for a new building there. And so there's a lot of like scaffolding inside this pit, a lot of like covered up machinery. There are workers in there constantly. They are going in and out. And I think there is inside this kind of like, almost like quarry that they've kind of dug out here. I think there is like one of these small kind of like prefab, like little structures here, that is, maybe it's like on the exterior, it looks like maybe it is like, like a rec room, like break room, kind of like cool down area for workers. People are kind of going in and out there throughout the day. But I think, it's got a generator set up to it. Maybe it's like, it's raised slightly from the ground, but like one of you are able to spot that there is like in the interior of it, underneath it, there is like a piece of it that goes down and connects to the ground. And I think you're able to tell that this is a kind of like a covered up disguise for an elevator. There's an elevator concealed inside this prefab. And I think, you get workers who go in and out. And there's a few of these prefabs around also. And not all of them are elevators. There's one that, it's built just slightly differently. It's getting more juice than it should have for what should be in there. And the people that go in and out of this one are dressed like construction people often, but they don't carry themselves the same way. I think you're able to sight people going in and out who are clearly, they're armed. It's undercover, but they are where, beneath like their high vis vests, you can make out the distinctive bulge of handguns right in holsters. And so I think that is like one in and out that you can fairly safely guess. The people going in and out of this they're not attending to the construction project. They're doing something below this kind of dugout pit. And I think that is a good sign to you that this is an entrance in and out of Installation Violet. I think that kind of catty corner to this on the other side of where you are at, there is like a Grenfield office. There's like a Grenfield building, and you're not able to gain access to that. But I do think, it's positioning relative to where this installation is. It raises another question for you of whether or not there might be either access or controls or more, kind of like, it's probably connected in some way. But I think the first clear entrance that you see is this prefab structure that's hiding an elevator in the construction pit. Which is tricky because it's like a little bit in the open. There is a lot of construction mess there. You could potentially, use to hide yourselves. And there are, a lot of workers in and around doing the actual construction work. So a disguise is not out of the question.
Right. Classic. Bonk someone on the head. Take an ID card.
Uniform swap. Yeah.
Yeah. On a massive scale with this.
Hey, just an observation on working conditions in Coronatus. I think every faction that we've looked at does have break rooms for their employees, so it can't be that bad.
And then I think this next kind of on a 6, great information. I'm going to give you one more edge here, and also you can ask questions, right? I'm not going to answer any question you have on a 6. That's great, but before we have that last question, I think maybe it's coming to or from one of these recon trips during the week. You're with the COG unit, and I think there's a member of this unit who has kind of stepped up a little bit to kind of be, you're not a leader per se, but like it's a person everybody looks to in the COG unit, in like the militarized unit.
Yeah.
I think a kind of like quiet, kind of intense looking guy, a Lectorian. I think you know him. You met him through Quint Selector. This is Jasper Somm. And I think Jasper used to live in this area before Grenfield bought up all of the property. And like his childhood home is one of the buildings they demolished to dig this great quarry for whatever they're building here. And I think it is when you are using the secret tunnels, right? The tunnels that crisscross beneath Coronatus, right? The tunnels that lead to the low tower, that hide your hangar for your armors, that hide your guerrilla training barracks,
Facility,
whatever you want to call that facility. Right, these are all hidden beneath the city, and so you spend a fair amount of time going around and underneath. And I think when you are kind of headed towards Wormtown using these tunnels at one point, I think it's this cog member Jasper who stops, kind of like looks at the walls, and I think there's like a bit of like a pile of like rubble kind of that blocks a kind of caved off portion of tunnel, and there's a kind of like a rusting sign hanging over this. And I think Jasper's the one who tells you, when I grew up here, there used to be an underground run you in through Wormtown, loop around up to the old bell towers, Burgundy Station by the pillars. And when Grenfield moved in, a lot of that got torn apart, collapsed. But they'd lead us in right near where I grew up, right near where their renewal zone is now. And so this is just a way to say that, like, there are, I think, there might have to be some excavating. You might have to do some digging around. But yeah, there is this set of old underground tunnels that have been, they no longer connect to any of the old lines. A lot of them have been closed off. But they did cross right through near to where the urban renewal zone is, where presumably underground the installation Violet has been placed. And for all there might even some of those might be in use by Grenfield, right? That's a kind of a question mark. Who knows if they converted some of that infrastructure? But if you could tap into that, it might be a way of approaching installation Violet without having to approach from the surface, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was actually a question I was going to ask before you said this. They're digging a giant hole. You have to take all of that dirt somewhere. And I was going to see if there is a way to get in through there. But if we can get Jasper, he's given me this information. Talk to Seldom, or I can. We got to get a map. If we can see where those go exactly, we might be able to use that. We've got the hands. We could clear some tunnels. It will take some work, but anything we can do to not raise suspicion on the surface. We're going to need people up there regardless. But if we can come in here, do the bottom, like you're saying, if that can happen, still be making some noise, but we'll be a lot less visible. We make some noise down here and no one said anything yet. What's another couple shovels clanking away? If they're working, it might just blend in with what they're doing.
And so, yeah, I think that is that 6 there. And so maybe we can like kind of turn the camera here as we like kind of leave, Carta and Jasper like looking at this like kind of like rusted over old sign of the former Coronatus underground tunnel. Des, you're looking to meet Thea, right? That was your...
Yes.
What does that look like? Where are you?
I imagine it's like I'm probably like broke into her apartment and like waiting for her to get home or something.
Yeah, right. It's the turn of a lock in a door. The slow creak, a quiet beat as like the dark apartment is illuminated from the light from the hallway, and your sister steps in. She is, in her the like cornflower blue like cassock that is the uniform of council people of Coronatus, and she flicks like a light on. The room is illuminated.
Is she startled?
She's not. Her eyes are on you as the light goes on, and in her other hand, she's holding a small, kind of concealed pistol. And I get she's like, she's not startled, but you can see there's like bags under her eyes. She looks like a person who has not been sleeping well, who has been burning the candle at both ends. Desmond. And then she locks the door behind her. And, it's like there have been locks added recently, right? There is more of a security apparatus in this small, like you're in Old Bell Tower, this kind of older portion of the city.
Mm-hmm.
It dates back to like the eras of the Chiropteran Empire. It is a house designed, I think, for a Chiropteran person, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is probably spacious, right? A place where you can spread your wings out a little bit more. There's like a kind of an open concept design in a lot of ways, right? And yeah, like I genuinely are like from the ceiling fixtures for hanging comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
And as she slowly holsters the pistol, like, with inside like the sleeve of her cassock, right? Some kind of like holdout holster there. And she looks at you expectantly. It's been weeks since you broke into the city council chambers with her assistants. She wants to know what came of it.
There are things in motion right now that I really wish weren't. I don't know why I thought that this would be a simple B&E, get some dirt, and move on with my life. But a lot of things have come into light. It's all right here. Sort of pull up like a sort of like whatever wooden encased thumb drive type thing. Stick it on the table.
Doesn't wait, right? Like she's got a table with like a personal holo projector, right? She fires it up immediately, right? And like as you're talking to her, starts sorting through like the transcripts of some of the recordings, the shell company stuff that Rhodes was able to discover earlier.
I think I'm probably telling her stuff about the what happened at Blossom Canyon and some of the things we found on the train.
And I think she's doing this. She looks at you like kind of through a holographic image, right, of Braithlight meeting with the Concordat's diplomat Sigil Hayes, right? Like that image is suspended, hazy in the air. She's looking at you through it. Well, come on out with it, Des. What does this all mean? What am I looking at here?
What do you really believe in, Thea? Do you believe in a free city? Do you believe in a free Ember?
And she looks at you resolutely and says, absolutely. This is our home, Desmond, and I don't think that it should be governed by off-worlders who want to strip mine it for parts, or cultists who want to turn it into God knows what. Or even your revolutionaries in the desert who want to turn Ember into a proving ground for their own ideology. It's not their planet. It's not their home. We're from here. We should decide what happens to it.
We are small. We are but one jewel on the crown. I think that maybe it's time to take sides. Things are about to change. I cannot even begin to describe this. I'm going to have to probably go away for a while again.
She looks at you so angry for a moment, and she stops, takes a deep breath, and she says, you can't run away forever, Desmond. There are people here in Coronatus who want to fight for Coronatus. There are more of us than there were before, and once I show them this, once we have this, there will be more ready to step up. The Ring doesn't care about Coronatus. If we fail, they have 1,000 projects across another dozen systems. We're one spark of a little revolution in their big war. They don't care about us. Come fight with people who care about Coronatus, who care about Ember. If I'd known where you were, I would have broken you out, Desmond. Don't let them make you think that you owe them something. What have they ever done for you?
They've done a few things. This is a lot bigger than I think you really understand. I think that Coronatus is a lot more important than you think it is. Even though it's everything to you, it could be everything in the hands of the wrong person. You know that I wouldn't want anything bad to happen to you, and I always want the best for you. I've always wanted that. And you play an important role in this. We all play an important role in this. I am about to embark in something that is going to put my face out there, to put it lightly. I've always been a secretive person, but I think the time of secrets needs to come to an end. It's time to open up the blinds and let the light in.
I think she comes over and hugs you.
Yeah, it's definitely a big hug right now.
Yeah.
Like, I love you, right? I may not show it all the time, or really ever, to be completely honest, but I do love you, and I don't want you to get hurt, which is why I'm going to tell you right now, do not come to the unveiling ceremony for the project in Wormtown.
She looks at you with like a quizzical eye, and then she nods. And I think she takes your hand in hers and she says, I love you too, Desmond. You're my family. And do whatever you need to do. But if you're right, if whatever you're up to, if whatever you're involved in means that Ember is more important than anything, then think about what I said, about who should be in charge of what happens with that. This is our home, and I want it to stay our home. And I think she shuts off the holo projector, and pockets this thumb drive that you've given her. I think, she doesn't get cold to you, but like this kind of wariness settles back over her, right? She looks like she's putting back on her counselor face. Mm-hmm. And then I think, she points to the little the drive, and she says, this will be put to good use. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Please be careful with that. In the wrong hands, that information could be, incredibly damning.
I'll make sure it goes to the right places. Don't worry.
Then he jumps out the window. He flies away.
Sick. And from there, I guess the question is there any more gathering information we want to do, or do we feel like we can move towards an engagement role?
I think we can move towards engagement. My only other additional was like, could I build some version of like I don't know, this like orichalcum detection device that, or like, with the awareness that Talking with Selkirk got, can I like scan what's beneath Installation Violet? Like whether that's with the Redshift or something I can build?
If you want to do something by building, that's going to require a downtime action. If you wanted to use the Redshift, I think you could absolutely get in the Redshift and use the scan ability to, but with the knowledge that, the Redshift is not necessarily a machine designed for like surveying, but like has obviously some potent fundamental sensory capabilities.
Yeah, let me just try that and then we can engage. I just want to see if I can pick up anything on like what is beneath. I actually don't want to leave low tower. I was thinking maybe
I think you can go from low tower.
Yeah, can I like connect? Ooh, this is dangerous. But I thought, can I connect like the apparatus to like an auxiliary port or something? Like use part of that to like network across Coronatus?
Yeah, you definitely can do that.
The enthusiasm you have for that suggestion is concerning me, but I'm gonna try that.
I think probably Seldom Row has to help you do this.
Okay.
And I think she's got the same smile that I've got right now, right? Which is like when you come and ask her if like you can expand the Redshift's like sensory abilities by connecting it into like the apparatus, she's stumbling over herself to start dragging out like thick black cables from the workshop. Putting a first era relic, like a direct feed into the apparatus is deeply interesting to her. And I think she starts shutting off other things in the low tower to like kind of preserve the flow of power. She's like, I don't, because there's an element for her of like, I don't know what's going to happen when we do this. And I think she's doing it. She is like, looks at you and is like, this is for Carta's mission. This is for whatever comes next.
Right. Don't get any ideas.
I think as she's doing it, I think she's like hooking up the machine, right? She's helping you drag these cables over. We're opening up like panels on the Redshift, and I think there's times where she'll like lift a cable up and then it'll snake forward of its own like regard to like find the port it needs to sink into. She's just guiding it. And I think, before you get in the cockpit for this, I think she does tell you, you'll look out for him, won't you? Whatever comes next.
Carta? Of course.
He's angry. He's not thinking right. He needs someone to look out for him.
I'm doing my best, but Carta's his own person now. He's as much an agent of the ring as I am. His fight's our fight.
But he's your friend, too.
Of course he's my friend. I'll take care of him.
And she nods and like plugs in the laser apparatus cable, right? And you are now hooked up. The apparatus is hooked up to the Redshift, and the cockpit is open. It's waiting for you to get in, baby.
Desmond walks in the room. He's like, "You guys aren't doing anything weird in here, are you?"
Get out of here, nerd. I guess last thing before I get in, I'm not even going to close the cockpit. Like I think maybe cockpit open or something. But with Seldom, it's like this is reversible, right? I don't want the apparatus corrupting this machine. I don't know what'll happen. I know you don't either, but I just want to make sure these tendrils come back out.
She smiles. We're in new frontiers here, Rhodes Rampart, but the apparatus is our friend. It is our ally. It won't do anything to your machine that wouldn't help the ring. Don't worry.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, this is gathering information. This is a scan roll. Yeah, okay, so this is gathering information. I had a question if there's an element of risk here, but let's just roll with it. I think this is still gathering info.
Okay.
I think this is probably scan to me, right? That's the thing I think makes most sense for what you're doing. You're using the sensors of the...
Right.
And you're trying to spot what is going on with Installation Violet, right? That's the thing you're looking for?
Right, like we know there's something going on with the orichalcum lattice here, but if there's elevators, that means they're maybe building something. I just want to see if we can get a peek behind the curtain. More importantly, like I'm also scanning for other like fundamental signatures. So I have 1 in scan. Do I get any kind of bonus from hooking up to the apparatus?
Yeah, well, this is Seldom helping again. This is her like specialty. Let's give you. I'll give you another dice on that. I might be ad-libbing the rules there, but I think it makes sense to me.
Okay, so rolling 2d6. It's a 5.
That's good information. Not great. So let's start with. So you've got this dust moss growing on your shoulder now, kind of out of the chest, it's kind of moving to the shoulder a little bit, and it kind of. I think there are times where you can't even feel its presence. And this is not one of those times. I think as you step back into the cockpit of the Redshift, suddenly you're deeply aware of it. And it's that same sensation you got when you were at Abel Selkirk's sort of compound in the desert, where it's like the dust moss feels like it's breathing, right? There's this almost like very subtle like undulation across this lichen that's growing on your shoulder. It responds to you being in the machine. And then as you fire it up, as the sensors fire, you get a sensation that's familiar because it happened recently and it's here again, right? But it's dimmer. It's like almost like a ghost of a feeling. And it is the sense of like that presence, that behemoth, that Leviathan looking over your shoulder as the Redshift scanners start firing, as it starts sending out like, fundamental waves and bouncing them back to scan the city. But there's a second presence here as well, and it's new. And it's almost like it's over your other shoulder, right? You've got like like angel and devil on your shoulder, but they're both enormous. And the other one feels different in a way that's hard to articulate specifically. It feels more diffuse. It almost feels like you're standing with your back to a forest spreading out behind you. Less singular, less individualistic as the other kind of presence. And then, the waves begin to bounce around, and I think you get a deluge of information that I think, it's like it's blaring on, screens start opening, holographic screens I think start like opening up rapidly in front of you as you're getting feeds of like, there's so many different fundamental signatures in Coronatus. There are other mechs, there are armors here, there are these, fundamental generators, there are just all kinds of machines, there are people, there are, the Concordat is certainly the largest conglomeration of thaumaturges, of people who can manipulate the fundament. But there are others who do not walk, the myriad way, who have developed those abilities. And you get these little like pops of light that are them across the city. This is a real like Professor X and Cerebro moment.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And you're able to narrow the focus in, right? As you're broadcasting these like fundamental waves that are like radar pinging back. You're getting almost like this dim impression underneath all of this that is the lattice, right? It is the network of Orichalcum deep underneath Ember. And just like it did before, it almost feels like it calls out to the Redshift in a way. And it's easier to discern now with the apparatus assisting you, like boosting your range and your power. And I think you're able to ascertain that the lattice is closer to the surface underneath portions of Coronatus, right? All of that can eventually converging on the beacon, this enormous space elevator tower that provides the signal that lets ships jump through kind of fundamental space to arrive here. The lattice leads towards the beacon, and because it leads towards the beacon, there are places where it is closer to the surface. And I think you can feel there is like a vein of this lattice that has emerged so close to the surface near Wormtown that people can touch it. That's where Installation Violet is. It's where a similar thing was happening for Indigo, right? They are building something there that is touching the lattice directly. A cradle to try and contain or influence it. And so that is what you get there, right? Is like on good but not great. A direct portion of the lattice is there, and there is a big fundamental machine connected to it. And so you're there broadcasting this fundamental radar wave, like picking up these signals. And, I think like this like signal's getting looped over and over because of the apparatus, right? It is like emitting it from all of its different stations across Coronatus and then maybe further out in Ember. And then you get a sensation of another person with you. It is not this behemoth. It is not this forest spreading out. It is an old friend, or what used to be a friend. I think you can feel Hyacinth. And this happened before when you were at Selkirk's. It happens again here. The few remnants of Quicksilver in your wound that the dust moss has not yet eaten and converted into its growth, it burns in your chest. It singes you. And your vision is no longer your own. You are looking out through a distorted reflection onto the vast range of the Cosmeo Ridge. You are in Hyacinth's eyes, inside the cockpit of the Weight of Ascension. You are looking out over the ridge. You are watching as massive ceramic machines tear apart the tops of mountains, and hundreds of men in ceramic suits, these suits of armor that you've seen before, march in line past them. There are great works happening in the Cosmeo Ridge right now, and Hyacinth is looking upon them. And then you get this sort of his eye turns inwards. And I think at that point, the forest kind of like looms behind you, the feeling of it. And then your vision is your own. And there's like the whip crack snap as dozens of black apparatus cables rip themselves out of the Redshift, breaking this kind of like amplified connection. And they begin to like slither back into the walls or into like their resting places on the floor. And it is Seldom Row standing on the ground, looking up at you in the Redshift, waiting to see like, did it work?
I think so.
We talked about this earlier off mic, but it's maybe a good question. There's a thing we haven't done yet, Rhodes, that we should probably do now, which is on our last session, you filled your belief clock with Carta, and you got to ask him a sort of a question about your beliefs about him and what was true. And during our last mission, you filled your belief clock with Hyacinth. And just in the same way it works with a squad member, you get to ask about a truth relating to one of your beliefs about Hyacinth. And Hyacinth player, which is, of course, me, has to answer you truthfully about whatever question you have about one of these beliefs. And then you'll reset your clock, you'll mark an XP, and you will have a sort of new understanding of your relationship with Hyacinth. So why don't you read your beliefs with Hyacinth and then ask your question?
Sure. First one I wrote was, I knew you on Feldspar, harkening back to when we knew each other a lifetime ago. The Hyacinth that I knew is still in there. And then my last and most recent one was that Hyacinth believes in the Concordat more than the Concordat believes in Hyacinth. So, like, asking a truth relating to a belief.
I mean, you could ask me straight up, is that belief true? Like, that's a valid question, or if you have something more nuanced there, that's also fair.
But I think this is sort of the root of my question, is kind of coming off of this last one, right? Like, who is my enemy? Hyacinth represents like a threat. Does Hyacinth actually want what the Concordat wants, or is he seeking something else? Are there other means to his end?
This is kind of relating to the, like, Hyacinth believes in the Concordat more than the Concordat believes in Hyacinth.
Because I think that there's something about, like, a pilot of exceptional fundamental ability. Clearly he has something here. Rhodes, like, does not want to kill this person, but if he has to, he's going to.
That's a good question. Is there a different means to his end? I think yes, in a way, right? I think Hyacinth is, and this is like from your interactions with him, from these moments of sort of shared or bridged consciousness, from your insight from like the machines that you've been connected to that have connected to him. He believes that, hearkening to like the fundamental capital N not, like, truth of the Concordat's belief, which is that there was something great once that was called the Builder, and it built a paradise, a beautiful kingdom that was then destroyed or betrayed, and it left and asked its true believers to find it again. And Hyacinth believes that more than anything in the world, that the Builder is out there, and that he was right. He's a machine from a machine paradise, right? On a world with a machine unlike any he's ever seen before. It's his destiny to find the Builder. And I think he believes that more than a lot of the people that are actually in the Concordat, right? There's a reason that he's a part of this sort of like secret police organization, that he's not on the front lines in the same way. I think you get an image, this is like intertangled memory transmission, maybe. Hyacinth has killed more like Concordat soldiers than like a lot of his counterparts in the ring, right? He has punished heresy so many times in the past. People who did not truly believe in like the myriad way, in the path that will eventually bring them to the Builder. And if he felt that the Concordat or the people in the Concordat that he served were not truly striding towards that future, or if there was a way to find that truth without them, I think he's a zealot in that way. He would abandon them if there was a path forward that brought him to the builder that was not the Concordat.
Can I ask like another question? I guess it doesn't have to be as mechanically sound as this, but I don't even know if maybe this is just Rhodes like thinking out loud too. But like, can one exist without the other? You mentioned like a angel and demon, or angel and devil on your shoulders, like in this kind of, I don't know, sensory world. Like, is it? I guess the feeling that I'm getting from this, like, are we actually more of the same thing than I realized? Maybe the only two people that survived off of this planet? I don't know.
I think those are, yeah.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I think those are questions that Rhodes gets to ponder sitting in the cockpit of the Redshift. But you do get to clear your beliefs with Hyacinth, mark an XP, then reset the clock to 1 and write a new belief with him. And so maybe we can debut that new belief in our next session. But I think to close it out here, let's talk about... You've got this final piece of kind of legwork done, right? It is reconvening inside the low tower at the stage. There's no troubadour here. I think Seldom Row instead is sitting at the table and has kind of brought up images of all of the intel that you've gathered so far, old maps of the former, Coronatus Underground, street level maps of Wormtown and the Urban Renewal Zone in its present day, looping security footage from nearby cameras that the apparatus has infiltrated of like action in that zone, is all of like the pieces you need to put the puzzle together. And so the question today is, what is our approach here? We're doing an engagement roll. So as always, we ask, what is the tactic that we want to use to approach this mission? Kind of the broad general idea, and then we will roll some dice to see where you start, ask some questions, and when we come back next time, we will head out on Carta's revenge tour. So just, it's been a while since we've done one of these. We had a really long downtime. There are 6 tactics here. Assault is open violence against the target. The detail is the point of attack. Deception is luring, tricking, and manipulating the target. The detail is the method of deception. Scientific is engaging with technological power. The detail is the unusual procedures used. Social is when the squad negotiates, bargains, or persuades with the target. The detail is the social connection. Stealth is for taking action undetected. The detail we need is the point of infiltration. Finally, transport is carrying cargo and people through danger. The detail is the route and the means. So as the squad, kind of sits here, it starts like going over the plans. We get the montage of like drawing on the digital whiteboard or whatever. What's calling out to you guys? What does it seem like we want to do?
Like a stealth again, like the infiltration.
That'd be cool with me.
Going in through a tunnel underneath their noses. I think that the tunnel aspect is great, and especially with Jasper having told us that like what he knows about his experience of living there, seeing that sign, knowing that they're already doing underground work, that we might be able to just kind of hopefully use their own noise as a cover for us to dig in, and then hopefully be ready by the time they notice to be like,
yes. So detail here, point of infiltration is like the old underground system, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving in through the tunnels. I think that sounds good to me. All right, so then we ask a couple of questions to see how many dice you guys get to roll for your engagement roll, which will see where we start, whether that's a controlled position, a desperate, or somewhere in between. So you start off with 1 dice for good old plain luck. Is the mission bold?
Right into their noses.
Yeah.
True. Take 1 dice. Is the mission especially complex?
I mean, dig in, attack, and place explosives. If you put it that way, that's kind of just straightforward. But
I would say it's straightforward.
Yeah, I in that regard, I think it is. That's what we're doing, and we're going to have to face them when
we're the only dependency. So yeah.
Yeah.
So then, you'll take 1 dice. You won't lose 1. Does the mission exploit the target's vulnerabilities?
Possible.
Well,
it really depends on.
I'd say yes.
What they know about the tunnels.
Yes,
right?
I'm going to say it absolutely.
This is a very
does.
sensitive location.
And you're coming at them from an unanticipated angle, for sure. Take another dice. Is the mission's tactic ineffective against the target? I would not say so, so you will not lose a dice. So you're at 3 right now. Is the squad receiving external support for the mission?
Yes.
No.
Cogs.
Wait.
Oh,
Cogs?
I think cogs count as internal support because you have them as a fire team, and they are kind of like your project. So unless we unless we bring in like another kind of established squad or group to assist, I would say then you're not receiving external support.
Yeah.
Is anyone interfering with the mission other than the target?
No.
So we're still at 3d6 so far. And then we assess if there are any other factors, taking 1 dice for each one that benefits the squad, and -1 dice if it hinders them. There is like a squad tier difference here. Grenfield are tier 2, you're tier 1, but I don't think the difference is dramatic enough to make you lose another dice. I think this is 3d6. I think that is a solid engagement roll. Feels to me like this is probably Carta's engagement roll here.
Yeah.
Why don't you roll us 3d6, and that will tell us where we start our next mission at.
All right. Dice gods be kind. Rolling 3d6. Oh, 3, 2, 6.
3, 2, and a 6. A 6 means that you are going to be starting your next mission in a controlled position. Which means, things are going to be coming off pretty well, at least at the start of the next mission. And so, I think maybe we kind of close here on the image of the squad. These images have changed, and, we've got Carta with like a some kind of like, drawing a red line like through like the holographic map of these tunnels, right? Kind of like pinpointing exactly where you're going to infiltrate through. You've got the cog units with Jasper kind of briefing them, going over their gear, checking your stockpile of ammunition and equipment. And when we return next time, risk takers, we will go do something. I don't know.
Down,
See you in the tunnels. I think you did that better than I did.
Save a little money on having to pay for that one again.
Yeah.